Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwartner, and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today, we have the great pleasure of meeting with Pouyan Salehi. He is the CEO of Scratchpad.
Thank you very much for having me. Excited to be here.
Your company started with a sense of frustration about Salesforce.
It's less on that because I feel like Salesforce gets a bad rap. And I actually just think it's misunderstood, to be honest. So I think it's more frustration with what salespeople have to put up with. Obviously, for a lot of them, it is Salesforce is a very, very big part of it. But yeah, that frustration is what I think most folks had accepted as like, listen, this is just the state of the world. We just have to deal with it. Like we work out of notes and we copy and paste. We work out of spreadsheets and we copy and paste. And that's where we had a unique insight on where we're like, maybe it doesn't have to be like this.
So what are the three pain points that salespeople experience before they'll convert to Scratchpad?
I think there's a lot more than three. I don't know if we addressed them all, but I'll tell you one of the biggest ones that we deal with is for a rep. If you look at how most reps work, they'll have Salesforce, they'll have email, and they'll have calendar. They create their own workspace outside of all that. And so the biggest pain point is switching tabs, to be honest, if I'm distill it down, because that actually signifies you have your system of record, but then everyone has their own way of taking notes. They have their own spreadsheet to manage pipeline. To-dos are all over the place. And each of those tabs, each of those switches causes some sort of disruption to somebody's workflow. And I think we don't realize just how much stress that actually causes. It's not even a productivity piece, right? Of like the time it takes. I actually think it breaks your flow in thinking, because in sales, you're constantly moving really fast. You're thinking about things all the time. You just got off a call. I remember that thing. Before I know it, if something takes too long to load, I'm on to the next thing and I forget to do that other thing. And so that's really what Scratchpad solves by creating this workspace, right? So instead of having to use a random note app that's disconnected to Salesforce, a different spreadsheet, all this stuff, we basically rebuilt all of that from the ground up and said, well, what if we did this with the sales rep in mind? Not leadership, not manager, not ops, but the account executive who's carrying a quota, who's doing the work. And that's what's helped us get to where we are.
So the salesperson can literally do the work on their laptop at the speed of thought.
Exactly. We stuck to two core things. Number one, making it fast, and two, making it simple. It's all those little things that other folks didn't pay attention to. And they were like, oh, you know what, like whatever, they'll deal with it. It's an extra click. It's that extra second of load time. That actually turned out to have such a meaningful impact that we just kept doubling down on it. But yes, it's at the speed of, I guess you just described it really well, at the speed of thought, right? Like you just had an idea where, okay, I forgot to update next steps on that thing. Or, I just recognized that I need to go multi-threaded in that account. And I saw it on a news article, from the news article being able to do something. So yes, that's what we're going for.
Yeah, and also I think it helps prioritize in a major way, where you know that you have 20 different tasks ahead of you, and you know what are the most important ones.
Not only for the task, but there is so much information now that's being presented to a salesperson and asked of the salesperson. And so, you can think about it, the own work. Imagine if you didn't actually have to report anything, right? Even then on its own, you have your own deals to manage and prioritize and what you're going to go after. But then, well, gosh, every week you got to send a forecast up, and how is that going to work? And so now you've got to report for the system or for the organization. And that's where it becomes really difficult, because you have information in all these different places, and the time that it takes to go find your notes and go find that spreadsheet and update this thing and get that, like it's surprising that folks actually have time to sell, right? And even Salesforce has reported on this, that time is only about a third, right, of any salesperson's time.
Who is the true buyer of Scratchpad? Is it the sales leader, the sales enablement manager, or the sales ops person?
The product experience and everything is that we built is for the end user, which is very different than a lot of other sales tools, right? They're built for leadership because they're the ones writing the checks, and then they have to force all the AEs to use it, right? And the enablement gets involved in all these long PowerPoints and training programs. We flipped it completely upside down. Any sales rep using Salesforce can go to Scratchpad, and within 30 seconds, you're using the product and getting value. But that presents a whole nother challenge, because they're not usually the ones that have the buying power. Actually, not usually, they don't have the buying power. In some organizations, they have influencing power. But at the end of the day, depending on how the org is structured, it's either sales leadership or ops that's making that call, because they're like, we need better data, we need more process adherence, or we just want to improve quota attainment, right? We know our reps are being blocked by a bunch of admin work. How do we free them up for that? So it really depends on the priority of the organization.
What is your future vision? Where do you see the company in 10 years from now?
When we look at the world, we actually see that there's this huge missing piece around where reps actually work, what tools they're actually using to work. And so that's what we're calling the workspace layer. But then that workspace is connected to the databases that already exists. And so what we see is this becoming the standard for any sales rep or any sales organization. When they say, yep, we have Salesforce that has all of our business processes, it has all of our data, but Scratchpad is where the reps are working. And not only that, that's where the team is collaborating and the handoffs are happening and where all the information is. That's the world that we see.
So who is your happiest customer right now?
We actually had one customer say they're going to get a tattoo of Scratchpad. I thought that was an extreme, but that actually came through. No, right now I'd say almost every single customer that we have is extraordinarily happy right now, but that ranges everything from big public companies all across the world. We've got a bunch of customers, international customers, a bunch in the United States, all the way down to companies that are just getting started and saying, what we were thinking of going with one of the newer CRMs because Salesforce seems so heavy to use, but with Scratchpad on top of it, then they're like, no, like we can just jump into that right away. So it's really across the board.
I looked at the demo and I thought, here's a sales productivity tool designed at the speed of thought.
That is what we are going for, right? And it's the speed of thought, it's the speed of how you want to work. And I think if you look at the behavior that reps do today, right, they're already doing this, right? It's the equivalent of duct tape with tools. That's why they're taking notes in Evernote or Mac Notes.
And you don't want software to hold you back, to be your anchor. Yeah. I think software should be your sail.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think we try to take a lot of these principles into account when we're designing the product, right? And I think this is the part that's really hard to explain to folks, apart from just, hey, just try it, right? And see it and experience it, because it's hard for me to describe how that accessibility comes into play when it's just right there when you need it. Right. Or you don't need to take a 30-minute, 30 minutes to set the thing up. Within 30 seconds, it's right there and you can start using it. So,
well, for anybody who wants to simplify their lives or get better apps, head over to Scratchpad.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.